Obvious spoiler warning if you haven't watched part 1 of Young Justice season 1. Hello guys, it's your boy, and I'm finally talking about Young Justice. I've been watching this show for years and being a part of the fandom, and it's always cool seeing comic book characters come to life with the power of animation. Yo, like, is that Damian Wayne?
Like, I know it's a popular thing to hate Damian Wayne, but I'm sorry, like, in my opinion, bro, just too cold.
Generally, and this includes my own opinion, season 1 and sometimes 2 of Young Justice are really light, but once we get to season 3 with factors such as budget cuts and simple bad writing, the show took a dip. Though season 3 definitely being the weakest season out of those 3, even though I did enjoy watching it. The biggest complaint was it having too many characters, and I mean it does, but I really think it's how they used it. I mean, look at Justice League Unlimited, which handled a large group of characters great, not leaving characters we already know and grown to enjoy behind to give us characters that are sadly not as interesting. Season 3 had so many problems, such as time skips which brought about massive changes and developing characters off screen. I mean, Aqua Girl died off screen. I had to watch a shitty game just to find out how bro got put in a pack. The whole Bat family came to be off screen, and sure, if you read the comics you know and understand the missing details, but like, really? Outsiders was very artificial to me with the whole social media thing that they were trying to go for. Everything became so dull to me. Character designs looked uninteresting compared to the original team, the visual aspects of the show, animation, choreography, all downgraded, which I guess is out of their hands. They can't spawn money. Am I even gonna talk about season 4 of Young Justice? Sorry, I got sidetracked. Season 3 definitely had its highs and lows, but in the words of Robin, I was extremely whelmed. Extremely whelmed. Yet when they announced season 4, I was extremely hyped, still being a fan of the show and hope they can improve in the areas they lacked last season. I have to say I've been enjoying the season so far, for the most part. So this season seems to be separated in multiple arcs focusing around a certain character, so I'm going to be talking about them out of order, getting into the one I have the most to say about. So why not start off with the Sedan Arc? And trust me, this arc is not very good. This arc really focuses on the character Zatanna and her whole ordeal with her father, and him having to be Nabu's host, which only allows him to see his daughter every year for 1 hour. There are these 3 kids that she is teaching that all have their own personal issues and backstory. So why the fuck are we dream speed running their development? And the show Dr. Fate puts these kids in these trials to see if they are ready to fight. By the way, a character called Child was sent to cause chaos and also wanted to make Clarion lose his anchor to Earth. That's who Zatanna, the 3 kids, Fate, and Clarion are trying to defeat. But instead of giving these characters time to develop, they just drop them in this world and quickly solve their problems. Tracy, one of the characters out of these 3, seemed to deal with being extremely insecure, but the show lacked to tell us why or how. Instead, I am not connected to this character at all. Honestly, do not care about their problems because it's being shoved down my throat. Like, I know nothing about this character. How could I be connected to this character at all? We're really just getting reintroduced to her. And then in just a few minutes, she seemed to overcome her insecurities. Khalid and Mary are the other 2. I'm a little more interested in them, but that's only because I'm familiar with them in the comics.
I'm beautiful. I'm powerful. I am better and stronger than anyone and anything.
But that isn't how you should present these characters. People shouldn't have to read an entire book and research just to understand a character more. Please flesh them out. On top of this, we have this whole story with the Stranger and Vandal Savage. The Stranger we don't know much about, but he goes over this long history with Vandal Savage and Clarion, and a quick run of Nabu and the Dr. Fate origin. This is where we really see these budget cuts as they use still frames and just move them. On a positive note, this method only seems to be used during flashbacks, and this is probably the best way to save money and time. I don't personally mind it that much when it's being used as flashbacks, but it's sure not pretty. This whole thing with the Stranger and Vandal Savage just seemed very unimportant. It was cool seeing the sinking of Atlantis, but I really do doubt that any of this will pay off. So why spend this relatively long amount of time going over all of this instead of using it to develop other parts of the story? As for the big bad of this arc, Child, she had nothing really interesting going on with her, just being evil for the sake of being evil. She was building up to be extremely powerful, destroying cities, being Zatara, Clarion, and Dr. Fate, but all you had to do to defeat her was shoot a laser beam at the crack of her anchor. I kid you not, it's so anticlimactic. They make Tracy shoot a laser beam. Why didn't you just do that to start with? They knew she wouldn't be able to stay on Earth without her anchor. They defeated Clarion multiple times by going after his.
Colin, the cat is his anchor.
Your type always goes for the cat.
So, but good job, Tracy. You really earned that one. I guess. I mean, I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, really? That's it? I could have done that. Put me in the field. Y'all suck. Dr. Fate, ain't you like the mastery of magic, but you can't shoot a laser beam? Anyways, Zatanna would end up striking a deal with Nabu where her, Khaled, Tracy, and her father would take turns weekly wearing the helmet, giving Zatanna and her father more time to spend together. I think due to this little backstory, we got to see of Zatanna's father's origin, and the end credit scene where he ends up crying to Black Canary, as he's been separated with his daughter since she was 14, and it being 10 years later, definitely made this scene hit me more emotionally. A really cool thing I enjoyed about this arc is them having Clarion take over their school bus and travel with them over the Young Justice timeline. We got to see some really cool callbacks, and they made a joke into something really compelling. So yeah, that's one of the arcs down. The first arc of the season was about McGann, Connor, and Gar. And no, never mind, the show's amazing. I retract everything I said. I actually enjoyed quite a bit of things with this arc. McGann and Connor are heading to Mars for their wedding, and get Rap trying to solve this murder case when they get there. I enjoy this arc for its world building and how the society of Mars functions where everyone can read each other's mind. McGann and her own personal issues with her family, and especially her brother, are really engaging for me. Seeing that her brother feels like McGann abandoned him, and he has this ideology that was foreign from his experiences with racism on the planet Mars. They handle the subject of racism on Mars extremely bluntly, and we all understand the message they're going for. Everyone in McGann's family seems to have trauma from their childhood that has carried on. Even Gar suffers from his own issues, and over the course of the season, we see his mental state decrease. Later in the season, we see him shun Peridia out. I'm not sure if they're still dating. He starts to miss missions, he starts being heavily on sleeping drugs. Gar used to be really used for key moments of comedy, so we really haven't seen this side of him. I've heard people call this depression stuff annoying, but I'll wait to see where it's headed later in the season to come to a complete opinion, where he sacrificed his life for the people of Mars. It was extremely sad after seeing the end scene with McGann just crying and nothing more. A little bit of a theory time. My theory is that Connor is in the Phantom Zone, or that the Legion of Superheroes, the 3 people in those costumes that were following Connor and McGann, who are from the future, will have ties to Connor, but we'll see. Back with McGann, her and her sister seem to be growing a closer bond after the death of Connor. As for Mars, after they solved the murder case that McGann, Gar, and Connor were dealing with, Mars seems to be changing in a positive way. I was interested in the whole story that was going on, and I found Connor's detective skills really fun to watch, him using his powers in a creative way, and so did Gar, so I enjoyed that bit. Overall, I enjoyed this arc, definitely more than the Zatanna one. As for my second arc, my favorite out of the 3, I get to see my boy Black Spider, and like, look how cold he is. He's an evil Spider-Man. What more do you need?
Don't you just love my balls? Hot, sticky, wet balls coming at you!
There's actually really cool fight scenes such as this all-black fight, which was really engaging. More Oracle content, they helped fix issues with Artemis and Jade. They made everything really relate to Artemis, and we got to develop her even more. Not to mention seeing Jason Todd is also really nice, even though we never got to see the depth of the family storyline on screen. In this arc, there are these 2 characters who both tie back into the League of Shadows, and Artemis has to find out who is the mole, or if it's both of them, and I just found this really fun. Orphan and Artemis both are really similar in the fact that they were both neglected by their parents, and I enjoyed seeing how Orphan came to be on screen. They didn't dive way too far into it like how they did with Clarion and Vandal, but kept it brief without diving too much off the story, with it still benefiting the plot. Seeing Will's and Arsenal's dynamic is always entertaining and really funny. The only problem with this arc is how it ended. The mole was the daughter of Vandal Savage, and she's working with Lady Shiva in the League of Shadows. Orphan was on the brink of killing her mother, Lady Shiva. Oracle found a way to stop her from doing this, but in the end they just leave Lady Shiva's stat body and just leave? I've seen multiple people complain about this, and they're right. What if no one came and she bled out and died? Or why not arrest her because she's like the world's deadliest woman? Thank you for saving Orphan from this traumatic experience of her murdering her own mother, but at least stop her so she can stop bringing harm to her daughter. They really just delayed the problem. I mean, Lady Shiva's just gonna come back again and do the same thing over again. But while writing this script, I've realized I have no idea what the plot of this show is anymore, and if it will tie into anything. I'm just watching each separate arc and talking about my thoughts about them. Maybe slowly they will start tying everything together, but we'll see. I'm really excited to see where the show goes, even though it has so many flaws. I really do love it and want to see it succeed. I've seen talks about season 5, but all of that is nothing more than speculation. I mean, on Twitter, Greg Wiseman is always pushing hashtags for it. I will be making a video about the other half of the season when all the episodes are out, hopefully. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I think that sums up everything pretty nicely. I've been Briel. Bye.
I got this pistol and it's silenced.